Now, if you will notice, all of the pages and all the insides are just about the exact same distance now, so it is now a square. If anybody puts anything in this journal, it's going to open it up and it will not lay flat. So we're going to want to add some leeway here on the edges, just as we did on the binding on the inside. We added a 1/2 inch gusset. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make 2 more gussets, and we will score them at a 1/2 inch apart. Now I've got 2 pieces that are 5.5 inch long, and I'm going to score them at a 1/2 inch in the middle. So even though this is 1.5, this one was about 1 3/4. It still works just fine. Now one side of this binding will be showing on the book, so we're going to use our decal scissors again and kind of decorate that edge. And we'll do that on both strips. And this will go here, and the other one will go on the other side. Now let's make a cover. In my travels, I found this book, which is a background book. And I thought this was just great that I could make copies of whatever I needed. And I came across this butterfly page. Buttons and bows. And here is this butterfly page. And I thought this would be absolutely wonderful for our cover. So I'm going to take a copy of this, and then I'm going to do our inks like we've been doing all of our designer pages. And here is our copies. So now we're going to take our ink and we're going to apply our ink just like we have the other pages. And we'll just start laying on color at different spots. Now to continue with our covers, I have taken and cut some heavy cardstock, 2 pieces at 4.5 by 5 3/4, and 1 piece at 3 by 5 3/4. Now this will be our book cover. Now our pages, when you line our book cover up together, our pages are not going to be big enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue our pages together to make them longer. Now first I'm going to cut the borders off of this butterfly. About a 1/2 inch. And on this one I'm going to cut the banding strip off of it. Then I'm going to simply glue them together at about a 1/2 inch. Now I'm seeing that that's not, actually that will be okay because I'm going to put something down that center. I'm making sure to line up the edges so they're perfectly straight. Now as I lay my pieces down on it, I need to make sure that They will fit now. I only want about an inch on each edge, and I've got a little bit too much, so I'm going to have to cut this edge off. No, I want this seam to be right in the middle, so I'm going to have to cut off both ends. And now we're going to glue our pieces on. Now the way that you know how big to make this gap in between your spine and your cover is by the width of your book, of your cardstock. And so you simply put it in there and determine the width. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and glue this down. And we're going to glue that right in the middle of that seam. And now we're going to score around the edges just so that our paper will fold nicely. Now you're going to want to work that paper gently so it does not break the fibers. But you want that to be able to fold right around the edges of your cover board. And I want to fold that to give it some give, so that paper gets used to folding. And now we're going to miter the corners. Now we want to leave about 1/8 of an inch on the corners so we can fold that in and miter all of your corners. And you can begin folding. Now, if you will notice right here, it did not, that's that 1/8 of an inch, and it did not fold down, or did not cut off. So what we're going to want to do is just fold that in and then tuck it in, and that gives you the nicest corner. Again, continue working and getting those corners tucked in. Working your paper where it gets used to being in this position. Working those corners down. Well, that makes a beautiful corner by just tucking in those little ends. And after we feel sure that it's used to being staying in place, then we're going to glue it down. Again, making your folds and your scores to where it will be used to staying in that position. Okay, we're looking good, so let's glue it down. And continue working it until it stays completely down. And do that on all sides. Now my glue is not sticking, so I'm going to add some double stick tape, some strong adhesive double stick tape, and I think that will do the trick. And that worked great. This does take a little bit of manipulation, but I think you'll find that you really like your journals after you make them. And there we have our cover with some wiggle room. So we'll be able to add stuff in our pages now. So although this is a 3 inches wide, when you get your pictures and your journaling all in this booklet, you'll have some room. And now what we want to do is we want to add our book. So let's glue our last gussets onto our books, lining up that outside edge and we're going to let that dry now. Now as those are drying, I'm going to add the tape to our cover. And I want to make sure that I leave enough room at these edges. Because the pages are not quite as long as the entire cover. And we want to totally cover this in your adhesive. Now our book is going to sit right here in the middle. And these folds, this one and this fold, you can't really see, can you? these folds will line up with the fold in your cover. It's the outside fold in your gusset on both sides will align with the fold in your gusset. So it's this fold, not the one closest to the book. I'm going to work from this side, and I'm watching my alignment on the top and the bottom. I'm going to place that down, and then I'm going to the other side. I'm going to place that in the folds. And align it down. Then I'm going through each perspective layer and I'm pushing it down into that glue to hold it down. And there is our cover on our book. Now we're going to place some butterfly paper to cover these edges. But that has such a nice feel to it. And there's enough of an edge if something sticks out on the top and the bottom. So now let's cut our papers that will go in here. Now for the inside, I have cut two 5.5 by 4.5 pieces of cardstock that match the insides. And so I'm going to glue those down on each side. Now, keeping with the butterfly theme, I have these butterfly die cuts. I'm going to also add those to the inside of each panel. Now, this glue dries clear. But also you want to use a piece of paper that will kind of pick up the glue. A wet wipe will do the same. As you can see, I got too much glue on that spot right there. It will dry clear. Now don't do what I just did. I got this front cover, I've got those butterflies upside down. Now, I don't think it's going to make any difference because I can put another butterfly going in the right direction and it will offset the downward motion of those butterflies. These on the back side I got going correctly. I don't know. If you craft like I do, sometimes it just makes mistakes. But honestly, in crafting, when you're making something like this, it doesn't look bad. even though they're upside down, it doesn't look bad. People are not going to notice that it's upside down. But I will fix that with a butterfly going in the right direction. Let's see, I have some of those butterflies right here. And I can simply just add those butterflies going in the correct direction. And it will offset the butterflies in the back. So let's add a couple of these butterflies to the front cover. And I think I'm only going to add 2. I think any more than that might be overkill. And so now we have offset our butterflies going down. So now we have to do something on the front. Now I have a butterfly that is kind of like this cutout butterfly, and I may just go ahead and use it. I like my journals to be able to fit in a shelf unless I have them in a book. And so I always want the front cover to be flat. But we will see how this all works. I've got some other trims that I might be able to add. But we'll see. Let me go look at my stash. But I got sidetracked. What I also want to do is I want to sew the leaves of the signatures. I want to sew them onto the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heavy-duty hole punch with the smallest hole, and I'm going to push it in. Now I'm going to repeat that for the other side. Now I'm going to use baker's twine, and I'm going to start from the outside, and I'm going to thread my baker's twine through the holes. At each lacing. Lacing's not the right word. And I'm going to pull it tight. And I'm simply going to tie it in a knot. I'll pull it as tight as I can get it. And I'm going to do that for each hole. I have a little crochet hook, which I'm going to put through. I'm going to loop my baker's twine around it, and I'm going to pull it through the hole. And that makes it so much easier. Again, I'll put it through the hole. I'll grab it. You can just barely see what I'm doing. Hope you get the idea. Now I have all my threads tied, and I have this little buckle. I'm going to use this little buckle to pull all the threads together, and we'll see, again using my crochet hook, I'm just pulling those threads through the buckle. There are quite a few of them. But I think they will all go in there. And I think this is going to be so cute. Unexpected. A buckle is going to be unexpected here. Now I'm going to trim the ends to where they're all basically kind of the same length. Now, I really think that needs some color, but we'll work on that in a minute. Now, for the front cover, I have die cut a butterfly with the intricate pieces, and I'm going to layer that on top. It's going to be flat, and yet it will have some decorations to it. Now this album is not the most impressive, but for my first try, I kind of like it. It's what I like to see in an album, which, if you will notice, most albums, they have a lot of flowers and a lot of doodads right here on the front. Now I am going to add some rhinestones in the middle. My little buckle. I just absolutely love that little buckle. And that is my butterfly album. And so thank you for joining me for my butterfly album. Please leave me a comment and subscribe. Thank you.